Caregiver, and I specialize in educating others on how to be proactive by empowering you, the caregiver, because if you cannot take care of yourself, then you cannot take care of your loved one. Thanks for coming back for part 3 of the interview with Ken Moench from Moench Method Bodywork. In this episode, he's going to explain to us about how the medical industry is typically the one to treat symptoms instead of getting to root problems. Well, as caregivers, that's what we end up doing as well. Listen in for this final part of the interview with Ken Moench from Moench Method Bodywork. And that's the problem with where the world's headed now, because we don't like pain. We want to be out of pain as quickly as possible, and if we can't, then I'm going to mask the pain. And here's not just the pharmaceuticals, but I'm going to self-medicate. So I'm going to drink some alcohol, and I'm going to do all these other things because I want to numb my body from the pain.
We're either going to do that, or we're going to slow down to the point where we don't do anything anymore.
Exactly.
Because if you slow down, really slow down, you're not going to be in pain because you're not doing this stuff. I'll talk to 47-year-olds like, what are you not doing now that you really love to do? Well, I love to dance, but I don't dance anymore because. Right. And I don't ski anymore because it hurts. And I don't play basketball anymore because it hurts. So we will either medicate and keep going. And I'm going to talk real quickly about the damage that does.
Please
But
do.
the slowing down and stopping doing the things that give your life joy is a slow death. That's all it is. You have a death to the dreams of what you thought life was going to be like when you could actually afford to do some stuff. You know, and so let's go quickly back to pain meds. So runners usually take vitamin A before they go run. That's Advil. That's a runner joke. And that's that they take for vitamin A. It's like so they can run. They're pushing through, right? But here's what happens. People don't go to the doctor about their knee pain or their hip pain because they don't want surgery.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I did.
And what do people, everybody knows that if you have knee pain and hip pain, that they're going to tell you you need to have surgery. By trying to avoid that, it's actually causing that to happen. So here's what happens. You're running, your knee hurts. The only reason your knee hurts is because the muscle's tight and contracted and is pulling at the attachment. Now, if that happens to your knee, it's pulling at the attachment and causing your knee to not track properly. Then the cartilage starts wearing away. Then you're bone on bone. That's when you show up at the doctor's office and he said,
time for surgery.
You have bone on bone. You need a knee replacement. Congratulations. By trying to avoid the surgery, you're gonna get surgery. Plus, you've destroyed your liver and kidneys, and at the same time that you're down in this Advil and all these other things. So by avoiding what we think is inevitable, we've created the reality that we were trying to avoid.
Exactly.
And so here's how simple this is. If a joint is hurting, it's because you have a big muscle that attaches directly to that thing. And if you just release that, you're increasing blood supply to and from that joint so it can heal itself, and it will allow it to track properly, and it will actually repair any damage that was done prior to that, so that you never ever have to have knee replacement. Same thing with your hip. Same thing with your back, same thing with your ankle, same thing with your shoulder. All of these things are repairable if you just let your body do its job with the blood flowing to those areas. An example, if you sprain your ankle swells. It hurts.
Exactly.
Guess what the symptom is? The symptom is the swollen ankle. The problem is when you rolled your ankle, the muscles on the outside of your calf got too tight and contracted. So now they're pulling at the attachment in your ankle. That hurts. It also is blocking blood supply to and from your ankle, which causes your ankle to swell. And then the doctor says, well, you have to rest, ice, compression, elevation. That's what you're creating, a long-term injury if you do that. So if you ice the calf where it's gotten microfibril tears or whatever, and you get that to calm down, and you continue walking on the ankle, many times all the symptoms will go away. When we treat things like that, I've taken an ankle that looked like this, like somebody swallowed a baseball, and swollen, bruised, everything, right? By the next day, sometimes before we're done with the session, the swelling's completely gone, the bruising is completely gone. I've had people jump off the table as high as they can, land on both feet with no pain whatsoever, and they go back to playing their sport that evening, that day, or the next day. I have pictures of a girl from Dripping Springs. They won in goal for the state championship that week.
That's amazing.
Several of her classmates came in and had similar work done. So they had 4 or 5 people on that team that were injured to the point where they would have been out for 6 to 8 weeks normally, and they were playing on the field and won a state championship because of it. And it's just understanding that what we think are inevitability in the medical system are not at all, because they just don't understand. They don't know. They've not been taught this stuff. What physical therapists are taught to do, look, if anybody's been to physical therapy, and trust me, I know many physical therapists. They're some of the brightest people on the planet. It's very difficult to get into school. When I left Louisiana and moved to Texas, there were only 13 positions open in the state of Louisiana for physical therapists that year. 13 out of the entire state. Wow. It's not easy. So very smart, very driven, very professional. I know so many, and I love them, and I think they're great people. They've been taught a lot. And this is it. If you go to a physical therapist and you walk in the office, first thing they're going to do is muscle strength testing. So they're going to test to see where you're weak. All right? Here's the problem. Every place that they find that is weak is contracted. Because what your body does when it gets injured, it contracts muscles to protect them. So now they're contracted. So if this is the muscle, it's contracted, right? So if they test this strength in this muscle, it would test weak.
Right.
So then they're going to put you on a strengthening program to try to strengthen this muscle that's contracted.
That's what happened with me.
So then what happens? It's pulling at the attachment here and here. This is going to hurt like crazy. Now, the muscles around this area will get stronger because they're compensating.
Right.
But this will remain this way, and it won't get better because it's not lengthened. This can't work. It cannot work. It will not work. It never does work, which is why I was looking for a solution. Even though I'd been doing physical therapy work as an aide for 5 or 6 years prior to going to massage school, while I was in class taking all this stuff, I was working full time, going to school full time, doing and trying to make a living doing this stuff. But everyone was leaving the physical therapy clinic kind of better, but not really. It was like if you brought your car to a body shop, it's still at Bondo showing, and there's different color fenders on the car, and there was still a dent showing. It's like they left there a little bit better, not completely better, but the reason was we were treating symptoms, not problems. You have to lengthen the tissue so they can contract and relax through a full range of motion. And the problem is many of them don't know that that is the problem, and they don't know how to do it if they did.
Exactly.
And I don't blame them for that. Nobody's teaching this stuff. Look, the medical community in of itself it's like the Titanic with a spoon for a rudder. You try to make a change, it's going to take decades to get, and all of the books that are in the libraries where they're teaching all of this stuff, ancient information that continues to get replicated every single year, and we keep doing the same things. The trainers on every professional sports team in the world will put an ice pack directly on the ankle where it's swollen, and they're treating a symptom every single time. Or they tape it, yes.
So there's no movement.
Yes, it creates a long-term issue. I had a client who was a professional pitcher. You know, when a pitcher, they come set,
Mm-hmm.
And many times they'll change the speed that they go to the
Right.
plate so the runner on base can't steal.
Right.
So they can't time them up, right?
Right.
It didn't matter with this guy. He came set and immediately kind of fell towards the mound, as it turned out. And I asked him when I was working on him, I said, dude, how come you do that? I said, I just never seen anybody do that. And he says, I can't put any weight on my right ankle.
Wow.
I said, what do you mean? He goes, dude, I sprained it really bad a couple of times when I was in high school. And this guy'd been in the league. This guy'd been in the league for a while.
Wow.
He'd been high school, college, minor leagues, been in the major leagues for 10 years probably. And he literally would come set. He couldn't hold that position for even a half a second. So he would just basically, he couldn't push off with it.
Right.
He'd just fall towards, he'd just go to the mount, to the catcher. And I said, okay, we're going to fix that first. And so his shoulder was really the issue, but I said, okay, so I got him on the table and I got all of these muscles in his lower leg opened up. And I said, now I want you to go run up, because he would literally, this guy was in his 30s. He would go up the stairs with his left leg and follow with his right, and then go up with his left.
Right.
There's the old man walking up.
So you strengthen that left leg and the right one stays weak.
Yeah.
If not getting weaker.
Right. So I lengthened all the muscles in his calf that were tight since high school.
Jeez.
And he ran up and down the stairs like he'd never had an injury immediately after I got done. That took about maybe 10 minutes. And the guy could run up and down the stairs without any issues. And he said, son of a gun.
I love this.
And then we got his hips opened up, and then we got his arm opened up, and we got his neck opened up, because all of those things are necessary in order for him to have maximum velocity and all that type of thing. And so it's so incredibly simple, and it's so fun because you see results immediately.
Yes.
I just worked on a dog for the second time today. We work on dogs. And the only reason we do is because years ago, I took somebody's pain away that they'd had forever and nobody could fix it. And they looked at me and they said, can you fix my dog? I was like, I don't know, bring him in, let's see. And so they bring him in, and we'd work on him and fix him. And then he was like, don't tell anybody because I'm an idiot. I mean, who knew this would be a thing, right? But anyway, the dog came in, and this was the second visit, because typically, if you get worked on and the muscles have been contracted and tight for a long time, they don't have stamina or strength.
Right.
And if you start just doing normal activity, it's going to get tight and tired, and it'll feel like it was before.
Right.
And you'll start limiting motion again. So then we opened it back up, and the dog was fine. But so we're basically doing the same thing for the dog as we're doing for the professional pitcher, for the housewife, my oldest client was 97 years old. The youngest one wasn't even supposed to be born yet. So, I mean, the age range is pretty big, and I can't imagine doing anything else. This is so stinking fun.
I'm so glad you're in this profession and doing what you're doing, because I'm still experienced. And just hearing the conversation that we had, I'm making another appointment as soon as possible because I want my hip flexor, because I wanted to be able to do my yoga, because that's one of the things that I need. Mm-hmm. I need it now. Look,
I had a lady on my table, and I would have changed. We recently changed the name of our business. In case anybody's wondering, I mean, this was like maybe 2 years ago. We changed to Moench Method Bodywork. So the lady is on the table, and she's a yoga instructor for like 35 years. She was like this master yoga person, and she had an hour and a half appointment, and so I worked on her and got done, and she got off the table, and she kind of checked her body, because she knew her body pretty stinking well, right? Yes. And she knew what her body was capable of, and she kind of did a self-assessment, and she said, that was about 5 years of yoga.
Wow.
In an hour and a half. If I were a smart business person, I would have named my company 5 years of yoga in an hour and a half. Now, it would have been a long
That's
name.
the next book.
But let me tell you something. That would sell because that's quantitative. What does 5 years of yoga cost?
Oh, I can't tell you. It's just...
And how much
it
time?
Fluctuates.
How much time is 5 years of yoga? And how much effort is 5 years of yoga? But what you're doing in yoga is trying to push your body to get open.
Yes.
While it's resisting being open. So you get to a pose and you feel it pulling in at the attachments. That will actually cause spring back and cause the muscle to be tighter sometimes after the session than it was before.
Right.
If you try to push it too hard. We have people that come in with yoga injuries. We have people that come in with Pilates injuries because people are trying to get stressed. The problem is those muscles are continuously, they're getting oxygen the whole time. So if you push them to the point where they feel like they're going to get hurt again, they will tighten up. Okay. So the difference is with what we do is we're blocking that blood supply. We're not allowing the body to react by contracting. So it's the deepest, least damaging way that you can open up tissue extremely fast. Like before we let go of a muscle, when it started off hurting a lot because it's contracted and it's going to hurt. When you push into it and block blood supply, by the time we let go of that muscle, it feels like pressure. And people swear that we're taking pressure off of the muscle, and we're not. It's exactly the same pressure from the start to the finish. And so that's the difference between the two. And so yoga is great, but the woman experienced 5 years of yoga releases in an hour and a half. And so it allows somebody who loves yoga and loves stretching to get through much bigger ranges of motion much quicker than they would otherwise. And for professional athletes, we've got people flying. I don't understand this. I don't know how bad the medical system has to be for people to fly here from outside of the country to get worked on, but they do. We have people that fly in from out of state and outside the country on a regular basis to get this done. I recently had a guy who lives in Austin who got a referral from his buddy in California to come see us. How did that happen?
Word of mouth. Because that's why today our conversation was, I know a guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you need to get in to see them as soon as possible.
And the cool thing is, look, this is so replicable. It's the technique that works. We have new trainees all the time coming through and they're learning, and we get them with clients as soon as they understand the method and they can hold the things, and we're supervising them and everything else. But we just had one of our trainees was told that she was a magician because the pain that this woman had was gone. And she was at least in her 80s, the woman, and her neck and shoulder pain was all gone. And she was told, she said, "You're magic. She's magic.
That's how I felt."
Magic. And so it all sounds too good to be true. And it's, the cool thing is it's not, it's real. And for anybody out there listening, if you're in pain and you haven't had the answers that you feel like that you should have gotten, if you feel like your doctor doesn't listen to you,
exactly.
If you feel like that they kind of have in mind what they're going to do with you surgically or medically, we'd love to at least talk to you. And look, the people that are tuned into this they're tuned in because they want to help someone.
Right.
And these are people that they care about, people they love, people that they want to be able to have a quality of life. But everybody deserves that. And it's very tough to be a caregiver if you're the one needing care. So let's figure out how to get you better.
Absolutely, because I was skeptical until it worked.
Yeah. And
now I know when I have pain, hopefully I don't have it very often, but whenever I do, I know where to go. Because I know now that if I don't listen to my body, I'm causing far more damage than I think, than I understand. Yeah. And what I used to do is think, so the cost of a massage therapy session or the cost of the physical therapy or the cost of a doctor's visit is far less. And as an accountant, I'm thinking of the cost. I can't help it. But at this point, now I have to flip that mentality and say, what am I really saving in years of life and quality of life, not just quantity, but quality of life, and being in pain and just trying to get by with that pain. We're not helping ourselves. We think, as caregivers, we think we're helping our loved ones by pushing through the pain when we're really making ourselves worse, which is why the numbers are supported. The stats are there that caregivers often pass either before their loved ones do or shortly thereafter.
And it's
avoidable.
It's because of the stress that you're putting on your body. And the stress mentally. Look, you cannot be in good mental health if your body is tight and contracted and you're in pain all the time. This cannot function the way it's supposed to. And it's also, look, do you know, one of the coolest things when we get done working with somebody and they get off the table and they don't have the pain that they were experiencing before, and they understand why the pain was there, and then we've explained to them what caused the pain, and then what they can do to keep this from coming back. What we've given them is a guidebook on how to actually care for this machine that they live in, so that they can be confident that this won't have to be their life anymore. That's because they have hope now. And the reason they have hope is because it makes sense. How many times have you walked into the doctor and you ask them a question, you talk to them and you ask them a question and they say, well, almost everything after well is BS, because they don't understand it. They don't get it. They don't understand it. It's a muscle pulling on a tendon, pulling on a bone. It's trying to slow you down so you don't tear or break something. They don't even understand those simple concepts. And if they can, it's a very slow moving machine that many of these people are extremely well intentioned. They've just been taught. Look, here's the thing that doctors are great at. Every single one of them, they can memorize anything. That's how they got into medical school. That's how they got through medical school. Their gift is memorization. So they've memorized volumes of information that I could not memorize to save my life. But they think that the things that they memorized in school are the answers to the problems that people are facing, and that is not true. What they have not been given is the ability to problem solve and understand that if this is the problem, that there has to be a solution besides drugs and injections and surgery. There has to be a solution. Your body has the capacity to heal itself. Look, I'm not a healer. My staff aren't healers.
I beg to differ.
What we are is we are great facilitators. We facilitate our body's capacity to heal itself. That's what we do. We unblock areas. We allow the body to open up so that it can actually function like it's supposed to. That's it. Your body is the healer. God is the healer. It is not the people doing this stuff. It really is your body. It is God that's given your body the ability to do this. All that we're doing is facilitating your body's own natural ability to do that. And that takes some humility. I mean, look, the more that you understand about the human body, the more humbled you will be, because it is magnificent beyond any scope that anybody could ever measure it by. It is unbelievably complex, but it's unbelievably simple at the same time. And when we understand how that works, it makes it simple and easy to open it up so that you can heal. Now, 98% of it's you. You have to change the way you eat many times, the way that you're drinking, the way that you hydrate, the way that you work, the way that you exercise and stretch, and understanding that flexibility is more important than strength or speed, because you get both strength and speed if you're flexible, and you feel younger if you're flexible. So it's all about flexibility, and nobody understands how to get there because they're forcing their body into a range of motion that it can't do, and then they get hurt, and then they get disappointed again. There's a process, but once you understand the process, it becomes very, very, very simple.
And that is where the proof is in the method. Because we are so stuck in the old way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And until we start changing that old way, we're not going to help and even stop. And this is what fuels me, is because I can't tell you how many times I've been to the doctor with my mother and they don't understand dementia. And what you just explained a little while ago about the blood flow is one source in itself.
Yeah. There's another aspect of dementia that a lot of people, how many people have been told, don't eat the fat on that steak, cut it off.
Yep.
Don't eat that cut because it's too fatty. Don't eat this, don't eat butter, eat margarine, don't eat that, eat seed oils, don't eat that. If you're on medication for it, no, talk to your doctor. But if you take medication for your cholesterol and you are avoiding fatty foods because they're supposed to be bad for like butter and steak and all of the other things. Like I eat meat, steak all day long. I'm a type O. My blood type can accommodate meat all day long because I have the most amount of stomach acid of any blood type. My body just eats it up. I feel energized when I eat meat. And butter and all of the other stuff. The myelin sheath in your brain that cover the nerves throughout your brain are made of cholesterol. If you're taking a cholesterol reducing drug, you're literally robbing your brain of the ability to rebuild the myelin sheath all throughout your brain. If you don't eat fatty foods because you're afraid of being fat, fat does not cause a person to get fat. Sugar causes people to get fat. It's not the fat. The stuff that God gave us is all good.
Right.
Processed sugar will kill you. Sugar cane cut straight off of the thing. If you eat it, it actually reverses all of the bad effects that processed sugar causes. It will strengthen your teeth. It will cause you to lose weight. The whole dementia thing, let me tell you something. If you have blood supply getting to and from your head, your body can repair your brain. If you're not eating stuff that your body is attacking, your body can repair itself.
Right.
And the problem is people are putting stuff in their body. It may be grass-fed, it may be non-GMO and all that type of thing. But if it's not what your ancestors ate, your body cannot process that. If that food, whatever it is, becomes a part of your body someplace. For example, if you eat carrots, and carrots are not something that your ancestors ate, and I don't think there's anybody that can't have carrots. This is just an example. Right. But if that carrot becomes a part of your joint and your body doesn't recognize those molecules, your body will attack your joint and cause rheumatoid arthritis. And so you take a drug that treats the symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis, which destroys your immune system.
Right.
Bing, bang, boom. If the food that you eat becomes a part of your brain and your body doesn't recognize those molecules, your body will attack that part of your brain. Parkinson's, Alzheimer's.
Exactly.
All of these different things.
Exactly.
So it's like understanding that, and what I'm referring to, I'm not that smart. I'm not a dietitian. I have been doing the blood type diet for about 15 or more years. And there's an app that you can get for your phone. It's called Eat Right for Your Type is the name of the book. Peter D'Adamo is the author. Mm-hmm. And it is, I've been eating that way. She has a copy of it right here. Yeah. The app is $4. It's a $3.99 app. And it tells you all the foods that are really, really, really good for you, all the foods that are neutral and fill in nutritional gaps, and all the foods that you should avoid. It has hundreds of recipes for every single blood type. And it's a one-time charge. It's $3.99, one-time charge. You get it on your phone. You can take it with you to a restaurant or to the grocery store, and then that will change your life. So one of the best ways to feel better is to stop poisoning yourself. And if you're eating even organic food that is not built for your system, your body will reject it, and it will cause your body to have inflammation, autoimmune diseases, weight gain, and loss of energy. That's poisoning yourself. If you eat the foods that your body recognizes and likes, You will, it will repair your body correctly and give you energy. That's food. This is poison. So we have to stop with the poison, eat real food, hydrate, sleep on your back, stand at your desk, walk the dog a few times a day, and floss, or use a Sonicare toothbrush. You do those things, that's health. That's not getting by, that's healthy.
Right. A lifestyle.
Yes.
A healthy lifestyle.
And it's that everything changes then. Everything changes for the better. And so you get to live the life that you're supposed to live.
Exactly.
And
for my 120 years.
Yeah, for your 120 years. Exactly.
At least, yes. It's a process. It's all a process. And
Yeah.
if we don't make the effort to start the process, then we become like my mother and says, I hate aging.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way you chose to age.
Here's the thing. Aging is a blessing.
Yes.
Aging is a blessing. My dad passed at 42 years old. Do not run into a tree with your car. I've outlived him by 21 years. Yeah. It's a blessing to get older.
Yes.
Especially when you feel good. And especially when you're able to have a purpose and do the things that you're supposed to be doing. And that's what we should all be looking for. Look, I drive to work every day and I see people that are so angry and just don't want to be going where they're going. Why? Because they're not doing what their life's purpose is. Right.
And they're not asking what it is.
No.
And I'm glad you figured it out, because this 1 in 400 million of
400 trillion.
400 trillion has changed my life, and I'm grateful for it.
I'm so happy for you.
And this is exactly why I wanted to share you with them. So thanks for being here with me today, because there are so many other topics that I could go on with.
I'll come back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially, and because you have a book that's in the process too. So we'll have to have you back on soon.
Cool.
But thank you, Ken, for coming in and expressing your passion for one, but explaining this, because I don't want any more caregivers thinking they have to push through the pain, or they can and they know how to push through the pain. They don't need to be in pain in the first place.
Right. And maybe we can get the person they're being cared for to get better too. So
exactly, and that is very possible.
Yeah,
very possible. Don't even write off your loved one just because of what other doctors who are not aware of this type of healing exists, and they've just said it's part of their process when it doesn't have to be. So his information is definitely been shared. The website for Moench Method Bodywork.
I think it's just moenchmethodbodywork.com. And if the name is spelled Moench, it's fairly uncommon. And I'm doing a great favor to everybody with the same last name so that people can figure out how to pronounce it. It's just Moench. It's without the O. And I think in German it had umlauts over the O, so it made it silent. So anyway, that's what we're doing. And there's you'll find Moench Method Canine Joint and Spine on there as well. If they'll pull up both at the same time. So that's
awesome.
Fun.
So see, you can go in and get your adjustment and the
dog
dog
fix too. Exactly awesome. Right.
I know this is more food for thought for me, so I hope that has become more food for thought for you. Thank you for joining us at this time. Be proactive, ladies and gentlemen. And you can also go on to www.proactivecaregiver for more information. And don't be in pain if you don't have to be. Again, I hope it gave you more food for thought. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, be proactive. Take care, everybody. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, I've said this before. Things really do happen for a reason. Although I could have done other things to keep from having an additional injury, I am so incredibly grateful that because of my injury, I got to meet Ken Moench from Moench Method Bodywork. The thing is, we do so much as caregivers. We try to do far more than we should. And when we don't listen to our bodies, as Ken talked about, we cause more harm than good. We do it out of love, but out of love, we are hurting ourselves. It doesn't have to be that way. So please keep in mind that by living and pushing through the pain, as Ken talked about, we're causing far more damage. Try as hard as possible to not self-medicate, because if you are reaching the point where you have to, or you feel that you have to self-medicate to avoid a doctor's visit, or you're telling yourself you can't go to the doctor because you can't step away from your loved one, think that through. Why? You know, Ken talked about all kinds of possibilities of healing, true healing from regeneration, life in the blood, treating the root cause and not the symptom. I hope you're able to allow this to sink in and look at the way you are living in your life with your care recipient, with your loved one, and decide to put yourself first again, to actually deal with the pain, because sometimes that pain is emotional, which turns into physical. Deal with the pain and help be a better, stronger, healthier caregiver for your loved one. I hope all of these part 1, 2, and 3 from Ken Moench gave you far more food for thought than you anticipated. If you have any other questions, always go check out www.proactivecaregiver.com. Again, you cannot take care of your loved one if you do not take care of yourself. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, be proactive. Take care.
Thank you for joining today. To find out more about becoming a proactive caregiver yourself, visit proactivecaregiver.com and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Music provided by www.joystock.org. The Proactive Caregiver is produced by Ken and Light Media